important announcement. We are corrupt and have sold out to corporate interest. Do not take anything Wes says seriously.
The opinions, viewpoints, and beliefs presented on this program do not necessarily reflect those of the management, the affiliates and broadcast partners, or the sponsors. Listener discretion is advised. Between science and ignorance, there is filler.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Paranormal Filler. I am your host, Wes Forsyth, and I still haven't done my script for opening the show, so I'm supposed to have something really cool to say right now, and honestly, I don't. Tonight's guest is Kim Russo, the happy medium herself. Kim, the reason she's on the show, or not the only reason, I hope, but she had a fan or two just incessantly tweeted and bugged her to agree to come on the show. So I had my opening there. So I had a little help from the fans getting him on because she is a bona fide paranormal celebrity, I would say, because she's on TV, unlike me, who hangs around on second-rate internet radio shows. I want a quick reminder, everyone. This Friday, that's the 27th, liveparanormal.com, 9 p.m. Eastern, on the Icon, we launch our official beginning premiere subset episode of Scarefest Radio. Patty Starr and her administrative assistant, Layla Cook, are coming on the show to launch the series that we'll be doing through the year up until the Scarefest in September, the largest horror and paranormal convention in the USA. Don't forget, go to my website, ihuntghost.com. There you'll find a little bit of stuff about me. Some of it's a little outdated. I'm not active in the field anymore, but because I'm so tied up doing my internet radio gig. But there you will find my highly entertaining Twitter feed, my less entertaining but still terribly, terribly useful Facebook page link, a list of all my affiliates, broadcast partners, and networks that are so gracious to bring my words of frivolity to you. So once again, our guest tonight is Kim Russo. If you want to follow along at home, Kim, thehappymedium.com is her website. And I'm going to go ahead and click the button and get her on here because I'm sure she has much more valuable input to this conversation than anything that I am about to offer. Kim, welcome to the show.
Hi, Wes. How are you?
I'm as the weather is getting better, I'm getting better. So you've caught
Same
me,
here.
You've caught me in an almost top of the line mood. So good for both of us.
Oh, almost. All right, let's get it actually there.
Now,
everything good?
Yeah. The only thing I have to
you guys are in Kentucky?
Yes, ma'am. Central Kentucky boy here. Just
I hear your accent. Do you hear mine?
Yeah,
I love your show. I was listening. I love the show.
Oh my God, you've listened to some of it. I hope it was one of the good ones. Because if you go too far back, I really sucked. I really, really did.
No. I enjoyed what I was listening to. Don't be silly.
Okay, Kim, I got to start the show off. Before we even introduce you to the people who may not, as unlikely as it may be, know who you are, I was familiar with you mostly from Psychic Kids because I don't watch the Lifetime movie channel or what LMC or whatever it's called, greatly because it just has this feel of estrogen, knowing about Lifetime television network. So anyway, that aside, and incidentally, I tried to do a little research this week, and I tried to do the little search on my DirecTV, and the show wouldn't come up. And stupid me didn't go to the Lifetime Movie Channel Network, where they have most of the series right there where I could have watched it. So, pardon my ignorance. But anyway, what I'm going to bust your chops about. I was not aware until we got hooked up that you go by the moniker The Happy Medium. And you have destroyed one of my favorite jokes. Whenever people ask me to, if I can find a happy medium, do I know a happy medium, I always got to say, no, but I have a really well-adjusted fortune teller. And now they're going to ask me, and I'll say, yeah, it's Kim Russo. It's
Oh, yeah. I am known as the happy medium. But it's not because I'm happy all the time, just so you know. But definitely because that's exactly finding the balance and everything. And that's usually what I go by, Wes. But, yes, I have my friends nicknamed me that years ago, and it stuck. And I like that name because people won't forget it. So, yes, I am Kim, the happy medium.
Now, I guess you're now the haunting of, which is basically where famous people tell you their deep, dark ghost story type things, and you go in and investigate it. Now, that is still an ongoing project, correct?
It is. I am getting ready to film my 5th season, so I go out on the road on April 1st, and I probably won't be done until the middle of June. So it is. We have 13 more episodes to film, and we are currently airing the current season 4, all new episodes, Saturday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And it is on the Lifetime Movie Network, but, not to be confused with the Lifetime channel. And the Lifetime Movie Network has really changed. They rebranded it. A lot of paranormal and crime, as well as really good movies. But that may be why you haven't watched, but you really should tune in, Wes.
I agree with you. I feel... Actually, the bad part
is... It's not all women. There's a lot of men that watch the show.
Well, when I went to the website, I'm like, Lifetime runs this place? On that topic, though, it's an interesting development that I'm seeing lately. The old tried and true networks that we went to for our paranormal TV programming have moved away from the genre, at least on the reality side of it, the real-time side of it. And now the places you would not think to look are embracing the paranormal field like never before. And
I am so happy about that. Yeah, I totally agree with you. There was a time where people said that the networks were moving away from paranormal. It's just simply not true. It's getting stronger and stronger because the world needs to know that, what you see, what meets the eye is not all there is. And the world is in such desperate need of help. So to know, even watching Ghost Adventurers or any of those shows, to know that we survive this physical world, it gives people a lot of comfort. It really does, to show them that this is not all there is. But, I'm very fortunate that I am able to be the voice for spirit, and not only that, be able to have it broadcast and work with such amazing celebrities that people really do want to dive into and get to know them on a more personal level. And this show really allows me to go as deep as I need to, because a lot of it's not coming from me, obviously. The information flows through me. I just think that when the celebrities sign up, they don't really know what they're getting into. I do think they think I'm, just a fortune teller, like you said, or somebody who is just going to run through a house and find some ghosts. But they get so much more than that. We really do dig deep into what's really haunting them on a personal level. And that's usually what ties into the ghosts and how we found the spirits that, plagued them at the time wherever they were when their paranormal experience happened. So it's really a 2-for-1 type of a show. Two things in one going on. It's really, really riveting. And we've had some really big names this past season. I'm not sure, if you're familiar, but we really had, last night was Kendra Wilkinson.
Mm-hmm. I recognized her. I once again, I'm not familiar with her work, but I see enough commercials to know what's going on anyway.
Sure. But Kendra has a reality show now, and she's so popular. I believe she's on the WE channel, and she has a lot of young followers. And she was an ex-Playboy bunny in the mansion, and now she has her own show, Kendra on Top. But a lot of the people that watch her reality show tuned in to The Haunting of. And so I'm very grateful, because you have a lot of people who follow just Kendra, but watching the show can really open their mind to spirituality and the spirit world. So that's what the celebrities, they have a really added element there. They bring their followers, and it really can open up so many more people's minds to this world. So some people think they're watching it for entertainment value, and by the end of the show, it's so moving and so riveting that they either cry or they say that they take away a message for themselves, and that's really what it's meant to do. It's universal, So it's, again, I urge everybody who hasn't checked out the show to definitely check it out on Saturday nights.
One development that I'll call the original paranormal TV genre, which I guess started with mostly with sci-fi, but also Paranormal State. When I got in the paranormal field, it still felt like a niche field. In other words, we had our little group of people that were paranormal enthusiasts. Some of us called ourselves investigators, and we knew we weren't necessarily the target audience for the TV shows. But it is obviously that event, that time period, has opened up people's minds to be more willing to share what is apparently a lot more common than a lot of people want to let on. Whether now some of the experiences are minor, admitted, but people seem to, at some point in their life, they have a ghost story to tell you.
Oh, they sure do. I don't care who you are. And also, if they didn't have one while they were in their waking state, they certainly have had one in a dream state. Having either a relative come to them, or how many people tell me they get pinned down in their bedroom, in their bed. So many people won't admit it, but they hear things when they're all alone in the house, and they think it's their imagination, or they try to think that, but they do know better. How many people see shadows in the corner of their eye, and lights going on and off? It's just so many different. But now, I have people when they come to see me sometimes people get, forced to come with their loved ones, husbands and wives and stuff. But they'll never admit it until the spirit world calls them out on it. But everyday people, every walk of life, and every age group has admitted to having a paranormal experience. Executives, businessmen, people in the medical field, teaching professions. It doesn't matter who they are, because the spirit world doesn't discriminate, as you know.
I'm finding I'm finding it more every day that there's just a very wide cross section of people that have an experience. Okay, we're going to take just a short commercial break, and we'll be back with Kim Russo, the happy medium herself.
LiveParanormal.com presents the Paranormal Supercon. This event, held in Erie, Pennsylvania, July 24th and 25th, features vendors, lectures, a VIP party, and paranormal investigations. This year's featured guests include Dustin Perry of Ghost Hunters, John Tenney of Ghost Stalkers, Chip Coffey, Alexander Holzer, along with myself, Wes Forsyth, and many others. That's the Paranormal Supercon, July 24th and 25th in Erie, Pennsylvania. Go to ParanormalSupercon.com for information and ticket sales, or visit LiveParanormal.com.
And we're back with Kim Russo. Kim, now let's get down to the basic questions that I ask all of my medium friends. First of all, now I understand from your bio that your gift manifested at a very early age. Could you elaborate on that and tell our listeners how you found out that you could communicate with the dead?
Sure. When I was a young girl, around the age of 9 years old, every night there would be a group of people standing at the foot of my bed. And when I say people, I couldn't tell if they were real or not, because that's how real they looked to me. The weird thing was that I would have my dad check my room, under the bed, in the closet, and, I would have him clear everything for me. And my sister and I shared a bedroom, and her and I would not go in there until Dad said it was okay to go in. Going in, there was always a street light shining in my room. So when the lights were off, it was always that street light that gave a little bit light in the room, and that's where they appeared, and where that light would always go right to the silhouettes of these people. And there were 5 of them all together, all dressed in black, men and women alike. As a child at 9 years old, I couldn't identify someone who looked like an immigrant, but I can now. So looking back, they were from either Europe or my dad's side of the family. And I found out years later, when I moved out of that house, and my dad owned that house, and he continued to own it and rent it. My cousin moved into that house with his young children, and they had the same bedroom that I did. And lo and behold, we never shared stories until years later. His children saw the same group of people at the foot of their bed. So I believe at this point that it was the property. My dad built that home. So he might have disturbed something when he built it. So I believe, though, that group of people were attached to the land. So what's interesting is, in my early teens, in my dating years, everything went away. I didn't see dead people. I had a normal life. Nothing bothered me. And then it was not until I had all of my children that the spirit world came back, and they, like full force, telling me they wanted me to be their voice. I started seeing them everywhere, hearing them. I couldn't tune them out. I didn't know how. I had to read every book on the subject, and there were not many. There were not many books on this back then. So, I had to go to the part of the library that had all of this stuff from years and years ago, and the New Age section. Now there's so many books on it, but I was really self-taught. I had to learn the language. I decided to be their voice because they were relentless. And I needed to learn about it. You know, I am like very curious. I'm that type of person. So I really needed to find out what do they want, why me, and you know, growing up in a very Christian household, I had to struggle, and I did struggle for a very long time, whether or not I was possessed. Is this against my religious beliefs? Is this the devil trying to infiltrate my life? I had a lot of research to do, and I had to really find out that if this was something that I should dabble in. But you know, long story, and that's all going to be in my book. But the point of the matter is, as soon as I started being their voice, it hasn't stopped since. And the healings that have taken place from the readings and the messages that are so peaceful, I realized could not be evil in any way. And I also learned that everything that the spirit world is about is really energy and has nothing to do with religion. So I am very scientific in my approach as to, you know, understanding the spirit world and how can they survive consciousness, but it's about energy, you know, and science. And, you know, I belong to a lot of organizations that I volunteer that I try to prove that energy cannot be destroyed. It only changes forms. So that's pretty much it. It did start very, very early. But I did have a break in between, because I think if there were no breaks, I don't think I would have had my children. And I do believe that was part of my path. Because once the spirit world gets a hold of you and you become their voice, it takes over your life. And I think, like I said, I probably would not have been able to raise my children and be the voice for spirit at the same time. So looking back now, I see everything really did happen in its own time. You know, again, hindsight is 20/20. So that's pretty much.
That's it, and it was a very interesting. A lot of points that. I guess you could say mirror my experience, only whatever gifts I have came to me very, very late in life. But the struggle with the Judeo-Christian upbringing, now that is a familiar topic here on the show, but now I was fortunate in that my particular upbringing, the church that I was part of, ghosts just they weren't on the radar. In other words, a few of the revival preachers might have pointed out the whole demon aspect and how there are no ghosts, there's only demons. But for the most part, my religious upbringing, we were fairly accepting of it, and it was just looked at as part of God's plan. And I think that really made it the transition for me into the paranormal metaphysical world especially, much easier, because I have not encountered anything in the paranormal that does not jive with my religious beliefs. Now, has any part of it just really made you think, well, that was, pardon the expression, bullshit? Looking back on it, was there anything that you were ingrained that just absolutely does not jive with what you know now?
Oh yeah, they talk about it being in the Bible, the Christian Bible, that, you know, thou shalt not consult with mediums and soothsayers and fortune tellers and all of that. But what's funny is when you are in these churches and people are getting slain in the spirit, they're talking in tongues, they have prophets. You know, I just feel that if you label me a prophet, then I will be accepted by the religious organization. So I believe everything is how you word it and what your intention is. You know, of course, there are people that can manipulate and use their gifts, you know, to harm people. Of course there are. So intention is everything.
Anything that doesn't fit the exact literal wording of the Bible, I chalk up to bad translation. Because and a lot of it goes back to what you said. Why would God give you this gift if all it was going to do was condemn you to hell? That's how I look at it. Now, in your gift, do you think, okay, the 5 at the foot of the bed, okay, apparently they dislike kids because you said they came back and showed themselves to the later tenants. But these ghosts, these spirits, however you want to term it, find you. I don't think they go around poking everybody in the ear. Have they shared with you how they come to you, or is it just, do you believe it's the common belief that it's just your light that shines and they recognize that? How do you feel about that?
Are you talking about those specific ones at the foot of my bed, or the ones that find me out?
Let's move on later in life. Let's move on later in life. They sounded kind of generic.
Oh, I see. Okay. What I believe is, and this is what they've told me, is everyone does have a certain energy around them. And a lot of people that I believe have the gift, I can actually see their auras as a funnel-shaped light at the top of their head. And I particularly see it as a funnel, which tells me that they are able to funnel, information's able to funnel or channel through those people. And I see it as, like I said, a light at the top of their head. And I do believe the spirit world sees a very similar light that comes at the top of some people's auras. Some people are more open than others. But I also believe that having an open heart is part of the key to receiving spirit messages. People that are closed and have a closed mind and a closed heart, it's really hard for the spirit world to get through to them, because they just, have these certain beliefs, tunnel vision. They don't believe in, a lot of other worldly things. But the spirit world, even if you don't believe, if they want to get your attention, they will, such as poltergeists and all those crazy occurrences that do exist, for sure. But I'm talking about the transition spirits that go into the light. They can actually see. It's like when you go to another country and you recognize someone who speaks your language, you seek out those people so that you're able to communicate. It's exactly the same with the spirit world and this dimension. They seek out the ones that they know they can get their message through to. It's very, very interesting. Now, and for me, it does run in my family. It does run in families.
Okay. Well, that was one of my questions.
Yeah.
How did your family feel about this? But if it's already something that that they've accepted to one degree or another, at least admitted to, then I guess did that make that transition a little easier when you're, pardon the expression, coming out party?
Well, it's funny because I have my father's side, who is extremely gifted. A lot of my cousins, they don't do this work professionally, but they absolutely can communicate, and they have. And then I have my mother's side, who are all born-again Christians, and they pray for me on a daily basis that my soul does not go and is not condemned to hell. So I have both sides of the family. And then I just have to, live my truth and walk my walk and spread my light. And I don't work for the other side. I don't work for the dark team, I'm always coming from the light. And so, again, if you want to break it down and you want to talk about religion, a lot of religions were changed over the years to suit the benefits of the organizations, and, I won't even get into all of that. But, again, this boils down to a scientific fact that energy cannot be destroyed. It can only change forms. So if people can understand that is a law of the universe, then why can't this be possible? And that's one of my missions, is to show the world that this is, a very natural state of existence. There's nothing hokey-pokey or spooky about it. I mean, listen, just like in life, you have bad people with ill intentions. You have bad ghosts with ill intentions. Not everything is love and light. We know this. Mm-hmm. So I'm out to educate people, but it's not something so out of the ordinary. It connects to energy, and so pretty much that's what my message is, and that's what I want to actually teach people. It's an everyday occurrence. We use energy every day of our life. We use electric every day, but we can't see the electrical currents running through the air or the cell phone signals. But we use them. They're there. They exist. So I just wish people would get some common sense going and see that this is totally possible. And the mediums are serve as the antennas. We're the antennas that can pick up the signal.
One more quick message, and we'll be back with Kim Russo.
Guess where I'm headed October 9th and 10th? I'm going to San Antonio, Texas. I've been invited to the Lone Star State to do my radio celebrity crap for Phantom Fest. Now, Phantom Fest is a gathering of all things fun and nerdy, weird and unknown. I, of course, am a natural fit. The hosts have combined their love of cosplay, gaming, and ghost hunting with their passion for horror movies and things unknown to bring you the most exciting and unique event in Texas. I will be there with Bill Murphy of Fact or Fate, Bruce Tango, who you might know plays Dave Tango's dad on Sci-Fi's Ghost Hunters, plus a whole bunch more paranormal, horror, and cosplay-type celebrities. That's Phantom Fest, FANTOMFEST.com for tickets and more information.
And we're back with Kim Russo. Now, Kim, in your, I'll call it interpretation. I hope that's not a bad word, and I need to make sure I take you off mute before I ask you to answer this. Do you make the delineation between what we would commonly call a ghost versus spirit? And I ask this because I know with psychic kids you were dealing with, Civil War soldiers and people thumping around houses for 100 years versus people that come to you for help wanting to talk to their loved ones.
Yeah, there's a very big difference only in that the ones that want to talk to their loved ones, most of them, I can't say all of them, but most of their loved ones have transitioned and have gone to at least the beginning level on the other side or the other dimension. And the trapped energies that you will find in a lot of these locations, they are stuck there from the moment they left their physical body. They don't always know that they're not supposed to be in that location, and they're trapped, they're stuck. A lot of them are afraid to go to the light or to make a transition. They like to, just like a lot of us don't like change in our lives, a lot of the souls don't, maybe because of some religious beliefs, some of these ghosts, who have maybe committed some sins or some crimes, they think possibly they're going to a place that's not favorable. So they stick around here knowing what they have, and they don't know what they're going to get. A lot of them had told me that I'm comfortable here. I like it here. I don't want to go anywhere else, because beyond here, they don't know what is there. But they will always have their own guides, angels, relatives, encouraging them to come over. But even in death, we have free will. See, that's the gift we've been given. And that's what I try to tell people when they write into me constantly after a TV show that I do, why wouldn't God take them to the light? You know, as if they're exempt. But like I said, free will continues even when you leave the physical body. The will of the soul still is in effect. So the only thing you really can do is coax, encourage, and encourage them to move to a place where they no longer need to be here. This is, you know, this energy is not for them. They can't manipulate it very well, although they try sometimes. But that's pretty much the difference, is one has transitioned into the other dimension, into the light, and the ghosts, the trapped energies, decide to stay here. And either sometimes they just mind their business and they want to stay in dark places and abandoned warehouses, basements, or attics. And other times, you know, they like to really wreak havoc, and they do, you know. You know that. I know you know that.
Yeah, and I always that's a question I ask just about everybody, because I've only really had a couple of guests that kind of hedged that difference. You presented it very closely to how I see it. One thing that now, in my own experience in the field, I do feel that some of them that think they're going to stick around just a little while after the body goes cold, it seems to me that the longer they wait, the harder it is. Actually harder. I don't know if they it's not that the light's not there, and like you said, the guides and angels are there coaxing them, but it's like they lose that. It's like they can't, that goes out of focus or something. That's my experience. Is that anywhere close to how you feel about it?
Absolutely. It's the state of consciousness that they choose to, if they were a fearful person, if they're surrounded by fear and darkness, and the same state of consciousness that they had when they were alive, if they didn't look towards any light or God or faith, then why would they do it in death? So yeah, you're absolutely right. It's as if it's always there waiting. I feel like they just need to turn around and look up at the light. But when you think about it, it's like you said, time is an illusion and it doesn't exist. So time becomes so distorted for the ghost. And as soon as you leave your body, time, you can't tell whether it's been 100 years or 1 week. You know, and I like to compare it to when you go on vacation and you're sitting on a beach in a beautiful tropical island. If you didn't have to be back to go back to your job, and I said to you, "What day is it?" you probably wouldn't know that it is, you know, Sunday at 3:00. Because each day feels the same. You're doing what you love to do, and you don't need to be anywhere or do anything. So that's why they lose track of time. It's too distorted for them. The other world has told me that the best way that they keep track of time is through us, reading our newspapers, hearing us talk about what day it is. Otherwise, they have no idea.
Now, what they need to do...
It's easy.
Well, but based on your vacation analogy, they need to take my wife with them when they pass, and she will constantly remind them what day it is, what time it is, and what they need to get done as soon as they get oh,
boy, it sounds like she doesn't know how to relax.
Now,
tell her to lose the wristwatch.
Does now, when you experience... How do you experience your typical, let's start with ghost. I mean, do you see them? Do you hear them? Do they flash images in your head? How do they tell their stories to you?
Basically, what I need to do when I'm communicating with anyone other than in this dimension is I need to shift my listening skills. That's the first thing I do. So I don't always see them right away, but I do hear them right away. I am able to tune in, I'm very clairaudient. I can tune into another frequency of chatter. It's chatter. And that's the first thing I do. So I shift my listening skills. It's the same as if you were on the telephone and someone's trying to talk to you that's in the room. You are able to ignore that person until you're off the phone. To me, it's the same thing when I communicate with spirits. If they're trying to talk to me, I can tune them out as I'm concentrating on the physical world and vice versa. Once I start to hear them, then I start to see them. They start to appear sometimes like I'm looking at you, or other times it's in my mind's eye. And I learned throughout the years that each spirit chooses how they want to appear. I thought it was first just me, wondering how come some of them I see so clearly and others I can only hear. And I realized that it's the same as in life. Some people are better communicators than others. Some people are more articulate. And, ghosts are the same way. Sometimes, ghosts or spirits, but you know the difference because we just spoke about them. But if it's a spirit that doesn't want to be seen, it will play hide and go seek, but I will still feel them in the room, see? So I use every single one of my senses. They don't always speak to me if they don't want to be found out. So that's why some of these investigations, what you see on TV, is very much the edited version because they don't always communicate with me immediately. So I have to coax them sometimes. I have to encourage them. I have to make them feel comfortable with me. They need to know I'm not there to harm them. So it's a whole process, that we don't have time to show on TV.
Now, along those lines, since we're talking inside baseball stuff here, do you ever find that sometimes they ignore you because they just don't make the assumption that you in particular or anyone can communicate with them, and you have to break that boundary?
Yes, but I also sometimes it's very hard to tell the difference if it's that or if they don't want to be bothered. You see, because if I shake the tree, they're going to have to make a decision. They think that I'm there to move them out of their space, which more than likely I am, but it's just like anything else. If they ignore me, then they think I'll go away. But I think they know from the get-go that I can understand them. I don't think that's a question in their mind. I believe it's if they choose to ignore me or not.
Now, along those lines, I'm throwing it out there because there's a big disagreement in the paranormal community. Do you, after what you just described to me, do you still experience or do you believe in what would normally be called a residual haunt? In other words, a totally mindless action that is going to go on forever, that there's nothing we can do about it?
Yeah, those imprints, I do believe in that very much so. And for the most part, when these people that I'm helping, these celebrities, when they've had these paranormal experiences, it's very rare that it's residual. But in communicating with the intelligence of what's there, I very often come across residual. I don't try to deal with the residual energy as much because it's just an imprint. And, I look for the ones that will communicate back with me, okay? I'm very often that's what it is. Because if they had an interaction with the celebrity, then chances are they're going to communicate again. Mm-hmm. Whether it be showing themselves, moving objects, I mean, there are some celebrities, don't get me wrong, that just saw a shadow going across. But we the producers do talk to the celebrities and they get their stories, and they decide if it's something worth, putting on TV or if it's even real or not, to tell you the truth. But yes, I have to agree there is residual energy, and it will be there forever and ever and ever, because I just looked at them as imprints of energy. And you find that a lot. And in the beginning, when I first started doing this, I had a very difficult time telling the difference. But now when it starts talking back and I start seeing it, feeling it, and hearing it, then it's not residual. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the only caveat I have on that is I understand about the imprint, but every time I've experienced something that could be called residual or has been reported as residual, you actually alluded to it, I always find an intelligent haunt at that location. I've never found a residual haunt that did not have intelligent activity around it. So I always think of the residual as some type of reflection, whether it's a projection or whatever, of something that has to do with the intelligent haunt.
Well, sometimes it does, but I also find that it could be that there's vortexes in that location that just attracts this paranormal activity, whether it be residual or intelligence. That's the other thing I look for, is the entryways. I walk around the property. I go to the lowest point in the house. I go to the highest point. But yeah, I very, very often find that they go together. I don't always know that they're connected, but they're very often found together. So, I mean, I have to say I find that too. So, I don't know, if you get together and you talk to all your ghost hunting friends and, what they have to say about that. Because I don't really, I'm pretty independent in what I do. I'm not part of a team. I've never really gone out except with my own students that I've taught. I've never been part of a ghost hunting team, Well, I can only speak about my own experiences and my students that I've taken along with me.
In all honesty, see, I asked that question of psychics and mediums because, I feel like you all have inside information. You at least see more than the great unwashed masses. But in the paranormal field, as far as the actual people going around with the blinky lights and stuff like that, they are, for the most part, everything they know they've learned from watching TV shows. And that is just a so rigidly accepted theory that, there are these imprints in times that I don't feel like they ever just wrap their head around why or the mechanics of it. Okay, we're going to have one more quick commercial break, and we'll be back with Kim Russo for the final segment.
Scarefest 8, the biggest horror and paranormal convention in the USA. September 11th through 13th, you will be able to experience 3 days of the strange, weird, and macabre. Come and meet your favorite celebrities in the horror and paranormal community. Scarefest 8 is bigger and better than ever, with over 200 vendors selling the weird, the strange, the unique, and the extraordinary. During your 3-day Scarefest adventure, you will be able to attend the many seminars, panels, and workshops. The scare doesn't stop there. After-hours events will include a costume ball, film festival, VIP party, a seance, ghost hunts, and more. For tickets and information, visit thescarefest.com. Scarefest 8, this September 11th through 13th, Lexington Center, Lexington, Kentucky.
And I just want to remind everybody that the fourth Friday of every month, Scarefest Radio on the Paranormal Icon, 9 p.m. Eastern, liveparanormal.com. Now, in your, because you've had such a broad experience, I think I'm going to limit this down to the celebrities that you've worked with. I think it's pretty common amongst those of us who look into the paranormal that a lot of times the stories, the truth that we find is not nearly as terrifying as the claims we were presented with. Have any of the celebrity cases that you've been on, when you got there, you said, well, no wonder this kid was scared?
Oh, my goodness, so many. So many, yes. There's been so many. I mean, what sticks out in my mind is the Patrick Muldoon episode. I don't know if you didn't see that, right?
No,
but
an actual
spirit was trying.
I'm a male chauvinist pig. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, there was an actual spirit, trying to enter his body and take over because he wasn't ready to, leave his family, and he just was looking for a human host. Yes, there's so many. Penhurst was terrifying. Pretty much, I have to say, all of them that I've done. There may have been one or two weak ones in the bunch, but pretty much every single one that I've done, and they're so different in nature, I can understand why they would be frightened out of their wits. From seeing orbs running all around on a baby monitor. That was Kendra's story last night. She thought that there was this huge attack on her baby in the crib, but there were orbs that just kept circling around, and she was seeing them on the baby monitor. Something like that, I would absolutely run for cover. I mean, not knowing this world, sure, a layperson, they can get very easily frightened, but I feel that most people can feel energy as well as see it. If they don't see it, they can certainly feel it. And, I felt it my whole life, so I don't take anything lightly that people say. But, yeah, crazy occurrences. The most haunted places couldn't be, the house down the street. It doesn't have to be any type of landmark location, Civil War or anything else. It could be a regular house on a regular street that has the most spirit activity that I've ever seen. And I've had that happen. California has a lot of them, I have to tell you, in a lot of different parts of California that I've been.
Now, one last question.
And I did a haunt.
Go ahead,
Go
Kim.
ahead.
No, you go ahead, Kim.
No, I was going to say, I've also gone to London where I helped Charles Shaughnessy in a haunted castle, and that was, like, off the charts, nothing like I've ever done before, in the United States. So, yeah, it's listen, I'm still learning some of this stuff, coming across some energy that I'm not even familiar with. But for the most part, I have to say, most of it is these ghosts sometimes get so accustomed to the people living there that eventually they form a bond and they want to help the living. And that's what's so misunderstood by these people, is they always think they're out to get hurt, or they're dark in nature, and they're not always dark in nature. Very rarely are they evil, the ones that I come across. But, define evil, you know what I mean?
Understand.
Depends what
Well, I always
what people
tell people
consider evil.
I always tell people that they'll say, is this evil? And I'll say, well, ask a gazelle if a lion is evil.
Exactly.
It's all in your perception to a great degree. Well, we've come up on, we just got a couple minutes left in the show. I do want to ask you one more question. Okay, now when somebody comes to you wanting to talk to their dead grandmother to find out where the cookie recipe is or whatever, how do you go about that communication? That's where you have to reach out, because I'm sure that spirit isn't just hanging around dying to give you information.
Well, I always say I can't dial the dead, meaning I will try to make contact with the grandmother if she's aware that her loved one wants to communicate and that she's in the presence of a medium. I cannot always guarantee that I make the connection, but for the most part, they usually know that there's a medium in the room and their loved one is hoping for a message. And at that point, all I need to do is raise my vibration, shift my listening skills, and the communication begins. And it starts in forms of pictures, movies, sounds, and feelings. And it's a whole nother language that the spirit world has taught me. And if the communication doesn't begin within 2 to 3 seconds, within me shifting my listening skills, then I can say it's a sure bet I don't have the grandmother there at the moment. You know, it doesn't mean she'll never come. It just means at that moment she chose not to be there. But there's always someone that chooses to come through. You know, the spirit world's filled with activity and energy and souls. So there's no lack of souls ever wanting to filter through, whether you lost a neighbor, you know, a great-grandparent. Everybody has someone that's gone on to the other side. And you didn't have to be related to them by blood for them to come and give a message. And that's what I demonstrate in my live performances that I do, is, you know, you get who comes, and I always tell people, you don't always get what you want, but you do get what you need.
Fair enough. Okay, what do you want to plug before I let you out of here? Of course, we do. Or go ahead and plug your website again, KimTheHappyMedium.com, and this will have all of her events on it. Although I have to point out, you're not a very prolific blogger. You need to step it up on the blog a little bit.
Oh, yeah, you know, I blog when I get inspired. But I'll take your advice. Thank you. Did you check out my blog?
I looked through it, and I was like, wow, this is like every 3 months. She needs to step up her game on that part of it.
Oh, boy. Well, you know, I am a busy beaver.
What's some of your appearances
But I will
coming
do
up?
that at your request.
What's some appearances coming up?
Thank you, Wes. I'll do that.
Okay. Throw out an appearance or two that you want to plug, and then I'll let you go.
Well, my next event is April 9th, and I'll be in Pennsylvania at the Carnegie Homestead Music Hall, Munhall, Pennsylvania. Munhall, I'm sorry. And April 10th, I'll be in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania. But like you said, all these events are on my website, KimTheHappyMedium.com, as well as my blogs. But thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
And Kim, thank you so much for coming on the show. Everyone, we have been talking to Kim Russo. Now I'm going to unceremoniously hang up on you, Kim, because I have to produce my own show because I'm internet radio. But thanks again for coming on.
You go. Okay, thanks again.
And a last-minute reminder to my listeners, this Thursday, March 26, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on the Incubi Incarnate Network, I will be on all things spiritual and supernatural with Cody Chris Sutton. That's IncubiIncarnate.com. And everybody, thanks for tuning in. This has been Paranormal Pillars. See you next week.
Back off, man. I'm a scientist. Back off, man. I'm a scientist.